Since the last State of the Nation address, a number of people have unfortunately departed from this earth. They include the Right Honorable Muhamad Segirinya, the former Member of Parliament for Kawempe North, the Right Honorable Dr. Yako Chisa, His Holiness the Pope, late Pope Francis, the Right Honorable Major John Kazora, former Member of Parliament of Kashari, the Right Honorable Sara Mateke Nyirabashitsi, the former Minister of State for Defense, the former Member of Parliament for Queen County, the Right Honorable Babadiri Margaret, the former woman Member of Parliament for Koboko District, the Right Honorable Margaret Komhanji, the former woman Member of Parliament for Nakasongora District, the Right Honorable Cicero Ignatius, the former Member of Parliament for Buyaga County East, the Right Honorable Frank Nabuiso, the former Member of Parliament for Kagoma County, and many other Ugandans who have succumbed to accidents, illnesses, etc. I request that we rise up and observe a moment of silence in the memory of those that have passed on. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Sit down. In the Gospel, according to St. Matthew, chapter 7, verses 24 to 27, Jesus talked about two kinds of builders. The wise builder, who built his house on the rock, and the foolish builder, who built his house on sand. When the rain, floods, and wind came upon both houses, that of the foolish man was swept away, because its foundation was weak, while the one of the wise man remained standing, because its foundation was firm and strong. The national resistance movement can be likened to the wise man in Jesus' parable, because we have been able to establish the necessary foundation to catapult Uganda to modernity based on the four principles ideology. The principles are patriotism, love Uganda; Pan-Africanism, love Africa; socio-economic transformation, and democracy. The aim of this ideology is to promote the mass line, i.e., guaranteeing the social uplift of all segments of the society, and not just the few elites. The mass line programs such as UPE and UPE's Universal Primary Education and Universal Secondary Education, the mass immunization campaigns, the wealth creation funds, e.g. Operation Wealth Creation, PDM, Operation Wealth Creation of the Army, where the Army was involved, OWC, EMIOGA, Parish Development Model, PDM, etc., have led to significant improvements in the quality of life in Uganda. Life expectancy in Uganda is now 63 years compared to 45 years in 1986. This means that Ugandans are now living longer. In 1986, Uganda's population was only 14 million. The national population housing census conducted last year showed that Uganda's population is now 46 million people. The literacy rate has also improved from 43% in 1986 to 80% now. In 1986, more than 90% of the population was trapped in subsistence farming. i.e., working only for food with no surplus to take to the market to get money. There has been a significant reduction in the percentage of households in subsistence agriculture. They are now 33%. And you hear that at the beginning they were 90%. These few illustrations show that implementing the mass line programs is the most effective way of triggering socio-economic transformation. Therefore, in line with the mass line philosophy of the NRM, we must prioritize the following. Number one, peace and security of persons and their property in all parts of the country. Number two, accelerating industrialization with focus on building factories which use locally available materials as inputs. Number three, export promotion and import substitution by boosting the domestic manufacturing capacity. Number four, strengthening the private sector. Number five, increasing market access for our exports, both in the regional markets such as East African Community, COMESA, among others, and international markets. Number six, skilling our youth through the zonal industrial hubs. The youth will continue to acquire skills in tailoring, carpentry, metal fabrication, welding, shoemaking, weaving, hairdressing, knitting, and bakery. We shall add also plumbing and motor mechanics. The training is free of charge and no prior education qualifications are required, as you all know. Number seven, increasing revenue collection by Uganda Revenue Authority without hurting businesses. Number eight, expenditure rationalization by restructuring the government. And I thank the Parliament here, as you heard the Speaker was listing those bills which you passed, which enabled this rationalization to take place. Fighting corruption, number 9. Number 10, ensuring that the remaining 33% of the homesteads still practicing subsistence agriculture join the money economy. The general security situation in the country is calm. However, the traditional and non-traditional threats to national security continue to manifest in the form of terrorism, negative political activism, general and cross-border crime, as well as health and environmental risks. The national borders are secure, save for the spillover effects resulting from the conflicts in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Sudan, Khartoum, and Somalia. These include influx of refugees and asylum seekers, illegal immigrants, and proliferation of small arms and light weapons. The capacity of the national security agencies, i.e. Uganda Police Force, the Internal Security Organization, supported by the Army, the UPDF, has been enhanced in order to combat crimes and guarantee the safety of all Ugandans. You saw how they stopped this young person who blew herself up the other day because she wanted to go into where people are, but it was foiled. It was was intercepted before, and she decided to blow herself up because she was discovered. The security situation in Karamoja sub-region has significantly improved, despite pockets of criminality in the form of livestock thefts and some incursions by the Pokot and Turkana from Kenya. Deployments to stop cattle thefts by some of the Karamojong in the neighboring sub-districts, sub-regions of Sebei, Teso, Lango, and Acholi have been maintained. In the eastern DRC, the joint FADC is the Congolese army, UPDF operations against ADF are ongoing with significant achievements. Since November 2024, 223 abductees have been rescued from captivity, and some firearms and bombs have been captured, including IEDs, improvised explosive devices. The government continues to modernize and professionalize Uganda's security forces by improving their welfare and strengthening the cooperation between the civilian population and the security forces. The UPDF, Uganda People's Defense Force Construction Brigade, has rehabilitated schools in rural communities, and together with the National Enterprise Corporation, has been involved in the rehabilitation of major infrastructure such as Entebbe International Airport. It is paramount to jealously regard Uganda's political and economic stability. All attempts to destabilize Uganda by internal and external actors have been thwarted and defeated. We welcome mutual and non-parasitic collaboration with everybody. Uganda's priorities and interests are very clear, and therefore our allies must respect and uphold them in all their dealings with us. The patriotic leadership in charge of the country's affairs cannot deviate from its historical mission to defend and transform Uganda and Africa on account of threats by some of our allies who misunderstand our goals and methods of work. For instance, we are soon finalizing the construction of the 1,443 East African crude oil pipeline from Burisa on Lake Albert to Tanga in Tanzania. This East African crude pipeline will take our crude oil to the international market through the sister country of Tanzania. The construction of the standard gauge railway, which I launched last year, is soon starting, and we have signed a memorandum of understanding with Alpha BMP Investment Group of the United Arab Emirates to start the construction of the oil refinery in Hoima. Many other projects in roads, energy, ICT, schools, hospitals, and agriculture have continued to be implemented despite the World Bank and the USA suspending new financing to Uganda. Our economy remains strong and resilient. It was recently ranked 7th by the International Monetary Fund among the fastest growing economies of the whole world. The size of the economy is projected at Uganda shillings $224.9 trillion, equivalent to $60 billion by the end of June 2025. In 1986, the economy was only Uganda shillings 42 billion, or US dollars 3.9 billion. This means that in dollar terms, the size of the economy has expanded nearly 15 times since the NRM government took power in January 1986. The economy grew by 6.7% in the first quarter of this financial year, compared to 5.6% recorded in the same period last year. This is on top of the growth of 6.1% in the financial year 2023-2024. Economic growth is projected at 6.3% this financial year, and further projected to grow to 7% in the financial year 25-26. It is projected to grow faster when commercial production of oil and gas starts next year. In purchasing power parity terms, our economy is projected to be US dollars 171.6 billion by the end of this financial year in June 2025. And next financial year, equivalent to about 65.7 billion using the Atlas method. This will be equivalent to US dollars 187 billion in purchasing power parity terms. This growth will translate into higher household incomes from US dollars 1,259 income per capita by the end of this financial year to US dollars 1,330 as income per capita next financial year. In the past 4 years, our growth has been broad-based, inclusive, and pro-poor. The latest National Housing Survey report that was released recently by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics shows that the share of Ugandans living below national poverty line has fallen to 16% from 20% 4 years ago, surpassing the 2025 national target of 18.5%. With the continued implementation of the PDM, we are on track to completely wipe out poverty in the near future. The same UBOS report revealed that income inequality has also declined significantly over the last 4 years. The Gini coefficient, a statistical measure used to determine the extent of income inequality within a population, has reduced 38% from 41% in 2020. In the 12 months to March 2025, export receipts from merchandise trade increased by 26% to US dollars 9.3 billion. The Ugandan shilling is the most stable currency in the whole of Africa. During the past 12 months, it has appreciated by 6.1%. Inflation is under control. It is projected at 3.6% in financial year 2024-2025. And Uganda has experienced Africa's second lowest inflation rate in the past decade. Foreign direct investment inflows are projected at US dollars 3.8 billion, while tourism and remittance receipts from our Ugandans abroad are projected at US dollars 1.5 billion and 1.4 billion respectively. During the next 5 years, it is projected that Uganda's GDP is going to more than double to USD 158 billion in 2030 in exchange rate terms, and US dollars 296 billion in purchasing power parity terms. These achievements are not by accident. They are on account of deliberate and focused government interventions. Cumulatively, over the last 10 years, government has injected 8 trillion shillings in strategic wealth creation initiatives, which have boosted economic performance. These initiatives include: number one, capitalization of the Uganda Development Bank, 1.45 trillion shillings, to provide affordable capital to manufacturers and small businesses. Two, parish development model, 3.4 trillion by the end of this financial year for the poor rural families. Three, Emyoga, 553 billion shillings. Four, youth livelihood program, 207 billion. Five, small business recovery fund, 100 billion. Six, agriculture credit facility, 495 billion. Youth venture capital fund, 12.5 billion. Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, 168 billion. Invite project, 800 billion. The Grow project, 824 billion. And Uganda Development Corporation, shillings 1.2 trillion, among others. Merchandise goods exports grew by 26% to US $9.3 billion in the year ending March 2025. The top exports include gold, 3.7 billion, coffee, 1.8 billion, cocoa, 410 million, industrial products such as cement, Uganda, US $335 million, metal products such as steel, US $230 million, sugar, US $190 million, fish, 177 million. The export value of milk and milk products increased 10 times from US $28 million in 2015 to US $285 million in 2024. The total export earnings of goods and services reached US $11.81 billion by March 2025. The prices of consumer goods and services have remained low, averaging 3.4% in the past 12 months to April 2025. This is good for savers and investors to be able to plan their investments and plan with certainty. The low inflation was due to a stable exchange rate, good crop harvests,